right? I know this isn't the most exciting topic to cover on the first major video on this new channel, but it's a very important one. And I get questions all the time from people asking, how much should I charge for clients? Should the client pay for ads or should I? I just want to firstly start by saying the client should always pay for the ads themselves. But then the next question is, well, how much should they pay? What should their budget be? And all those things I'm going to cover in today's video. But before we do, I want to announce the 3 winners from our first video on this channel, the 3 winners of our new affluent merch line. I'm going to do that right now on my phone so you can see these are randomly selected. I'm going to paste the link in the video. We're not going to allow duplicates. I'm going to hit continue. So our first winner is Ahmed Tamer. Okay, cool. I'm going to send you a message. Give me that affluent t-shirt. You got it, man. You got it. Okay, fine. And we're going to pick another winner. Marketing Harry. Cool. Dude, I know, Harry, you've been commenting on these videos for a long time, so it's about time that you won something. And let's do another one. Vasav. Cool. Guys, well done. You've won some affluent merch line. You're going to get a t-shirt and a hat. I'm going to message you and you can reach out to me. In fact, I'll just stop recording and you can let me know the size that you need and the team will get those sent out to you ASAP. We're actually going to be hosting that competition on every new video on this channel for the foreseeable future. It's not going to be 3 people that win though. It'll be 1 person. So 1 person out of everyone that comments within the first 24 hours will be randomly selected using a random comment selector to win a affluent merch kit. Okay, it's going to be a t-shirt and a hat. Those designs might change from time to time as well. So make sure you have your notification bell turned on so you get notified when we bring out new content, because if not, you're going to miss the first 24 hours and we'll have already drawn the winner by then. So make sure your notification bell's turned on. Drop a comment down below today. So pricing. So it's really important we get this right when we first start out. And I know pricing is something that causes a lot of anxiety for new start agency owners, and in some instances mean they don't even start their agency because they're intimidated by the amount they're quoting for businesses. But I think it's really important to understand that as an agency owner, regardless of whether your service is ads or web design or email marketing, whatever that may be for whoever it may be, we're trying to help someone increase their revenue. We're trying to help someone increase the amount of money they're making on a monthly basis. And therefore our service is very valuable. So it's value-based pricing and it's not time-based. Now with the majority of industries out there, let's say we're working in a full-time job, we're working based on our time. We're paid a salary based on the amount of time we spend in the office, right? Now gone are the days when we'll charge people based on our time. We'll leave that in employment. That's why we started a company in the first place, right? Because if we're charging people based on our time, the only thing that we have control over is our hourly rate. Okay, we don't have control over how many hours we have in the day. Once we're at max capacity, the only thing we can do to scale our agency is increase our hourly rate. So never charge people based on the amount of time it's going to take you to fulfill a task. Only charge people based on the amount of value you're going to be bringing to them. Now, granted, that's something that's pretty hard to quantify as a new start agency. For someone who's never run ads before, it's very daunting to approach a business in their local city and quote them upwards of $1,000 for a service that they don't really understand themselves. I know that's how I felt right at the start when I signed my first restaurant client. I had a ton of imposter syndrome, but I still managed to get them over the line, and then I had to figure out how to run ads. I remember the quote that Richard Branson said at the time, which stuck with me, was, if you ever get offered an opportunity that you don't know how to fulfill, say yes and then learn later. And so I had to learn Facebook ads after I signed that first client, and I actually managed to get them some really great results. Sure, it took me a couple of weeks of learning how to get them those results, but the campaigns did really well and I ended up working with them for almost a year. What I really think would help any of you guys who are just starting out in your agency to help you through that initial imposter syndrome is understanding the value we can actually bring to these companies. So let's do a quick bit of maths. Let me get this phone on record. Let's say we're working with a dentist, okay? Because for the majority of you guys, you're going to be working with local businesses when you first start out. I wouldn't recommend going into e-commerce, okay? So restaurants, gyms, dentists, anybody with any kind of lead generational based service, okay? So real estate, any service, builders, contractors, the list really is endless. This is not a niche video. But let's say we're working with a dentist and I offer Invisalign, okay? This is a brace system, okay? It's internationally recognized. It's around 4K for this brace. So let's say we're starting off on a small budget of $500. Now I'm gonna give you some averages on what to charge in a moment, but with this client, we've got $500 ad spend per month for this dentist, okay? Now, we can get Invisalign leads internationally, a high average of around $50 per lead. Some agencies might be able to get $20 or $30, some might get $60. We're gonna use 50. That's 10 leads. 10 leads on a $4,000 service, okay? So that's a potential $40,000 here if we closed everyone, but realistically, we are just not going to do that. The conversion rate is probably gonna look something like 25% on people that actually come in and are sold to by the dentist. So if we figure out 25%, that's 2.5 people. We can't have half people, so we'll round it down. That's 2 people for a $4,000 service. That's $8,000 for this client. Take away our ad spend, the $7,500, take away our service charge, which might be another $500 on top of that. That's $7,000 operating profit. Now, sure, that business has to take away their costs, but they're still going to be massively in profit from our service. It's an 8 times return on investment for this business. That's where the value is. And that is why these clients will spend the amount of money that we are quoting them for our service, because it's an extremely valuable service. And once we've got these results for them once, we're not going to spend $500 on the next month. We're going to spend $1,000 or maybe $2,000 or $5,000, and we will scale up over time. Now, granted, realistically, if you're winging it with ads and you're self-taught, you're not going to get results like that straight away. It's a chicken or the egg type situation, and that's okay. We have to start somewhere. Someone asked me this morning, what's the best way for me to learn Facebook ads and test out Facebook ads before I sign the first client? And I said, well, if you're already taking a course and you already know what strategies you're going to take, the only practice you're going to get is signing up that first client. You can't set up a dummy Facebook account and start running ads to make-believe numbers in a make-believe store, because it's not real and you don't have real life factors coming into play there. So you have to sign up your first client and learn on the job, like I did and like 99% of agencies out there do. And I'm gonna cut the bullshit and air out the elephant in the room. 90% of agencies out there, their first 1 or 2 clients, they're probably not getting any good results for. And that's okay, because they're learning. And as long as they've done their research, they're not just going in completely blind, and they're following a strategy that's been proven to work for the niche that they're working with before them, then they're gonna improve and they're gonna get better. They have to start somewhere. And that's just the reality of it. Now, I'm going off tangent here. Let's go back to pricing. You guys want to know exactly how much you should be charging clients. So I'm going to give you some figures to go away with and action. But it's really important to note that there are so many variables that come into play when quoting a client. I'm going to give you the averages of what you should charge when you're first starting out, but we want to consider how busy this business is, how much money they're making, how much they actually can afford, and what service we're offering. I'm talking specifically about ads, okay? If we're offering Facebook ads or YouTube ads or Google ads, whatever ad service you're offering, how much we should charge in that instance when we're first starting out. So on the basis of local brick and mortar businesses, because that's where we're going to be starting initially, we need that common ground with people, you want to charge a maximum of $1,000 or pounds per month for your service charge, okay? But you can go down as little as $250. I wouldn't go below that because you really are devaluing yourself. But the key when you're first starting is to not be greedy. You just need that first client. What is more valuable than money when you're first starting as an agency? It's case studies, it's results, it's testimonials, because those are the things we can use and leverage to sign up new clients. A testimonial, one good testimonial is worth more than 6 months on a $1,000 retainer. I would take that all day long if I was starting my agency from scratch. So the focus is just getting that business over the line. I'm fed up of seeing people out there being like, oh, you need to charge $1,000 on every single client when you're first starting. It is complete BS. The most valuable thing when you're first starting an agency is testimonials, is case studies and results, okay? Prioritize them over money. Because if you prioritize money when you're first starting, you are going to fail. Just get results for people, have them shouting about you, and that's what's going to help your business grow. I got to $10,000 a month, pretty much all on referrals. I got my first few clients and I was getting referral after referral after referral. I didn't have to do outbound sales. And so that's what you want to be able to do as well. And the only way we can do that is without being greedy. So $1,000 a month maximum, but charge as little as $250. Get that person over the line. Don't just go in with a really cheap price. Try and go in at the higher level to start off with and engage the conversation, okay? Let's break that down a little bit further. So companies with a high ticket service or product like dentists, they can afford $1,000 a month all day long. Restaurants, on the other side, might only be able to afford $500. Small gyms will only be able to afford $500, okay? A chiropractor, maybe $500 as well. But a hair transplant clinic or an aesthetics clinic, they can afford $1,000. So you need to think about how high ticket the service is, okay? And make sure your pricing that you quote is relative to that. Now, the ad spend that you charge needs to be the equivalent of at least 100% of your service charge. Do not fall into the trap of quoting less for ad budget than service charge. Because if you've quoted a $1,000 service charge, don't quote $500 ad spend, because you need to 3x your money before the client even makes a profit. It makes no sense. And I'm talking from experience. I did this myself. My first couple of clients, I was greedy for cash, high service charge, low ad spend, and it was this uphill battle constantly. And I see so many agencies make the same fundamental mistake. They are greedy for cash instead of being greedy for results. So if you've got a client on a $1,000 service charge, $500 ad spend, my recommendation to you would be take $250 of your own money at that service charge and put it in the ad spend. So you're on $750, $750. The ad spend ideally needs to be a minimum of 100% of the service charge. If you can get them to spend more on ads than your service charge, then we're already winning because it's so much easier to get results because we're dwarfing the service charge so much quicker. So just follow that rule, for Christ's sake. Now that's local brick and mortar. We also have e-commerce as well, which are online businesses for more established agencies. I'll touch on this very briefly, but if you want me to create a more in-depth video on e-commerce charging, because it's a different beast, drop a comment down below and I can create that in the future. With e-commerce, the same rule applies for 100% ad spend equivalent. That applies for any industry, regardless of where they are or what they're selling. Always make sure it's a minimum 100% equivalent. But with e-commerce, you need way more ad budget. An absolute minimum of $1,000 a month. Don't even entertain anything lower than that. Same for your service charge. Don't entertain anyone who doesn't want to pay a minimum of $1,000 per month. In an ideal world, it needs to be $2,000 plus on ad spend, starting off with an e-commerce business though. We won't even entertain a conversation with an e-com business unless they're prepared to spend a minimum of $2,000 a month in their first month. And then we'll scale them very aggressively after that. But e-com businesses are for established agencies. Once you've got results, through local brick and mortar first. Start there before you even think about e-com companies. If you want me to create a video around e-com charging, then I can do so because we do some pretty amazing things like charging percentages as well. So we charge them a percentage of the amount of money we're actually making them. We've had clients pay upwards of $50,000 for one single month's commission as an e-com client for our established agency, the Affluent Agency. But that's a conversation for another time. You want me to talk more about that, drop a comment down below and I will do. But for now, I just want to finish off with this one point. Do not be greedy with your service charge. That is the most important thing. It's the most important factor when you're quoting anybody when you're first starting out. Because testimonials, case studies, and results are way more valuable than money when you're first starting out. Sweet. Cheers.